is taken in executive session. Before we move forward, we do have a citizen, and because we're in executive session, Dr. Faltus. I don't want to mispronounce it. I'm sorry.
That's fine. Marie Asad Faltus.
Okay, Dr. Faltus, and this must pertain to items on the agenda. Well, items not on the agenda. So, Ms. Faltus, if you'll state your name and address for the record, and you have up to 2 minutes to speak.
Thank you very much. Good evening, and I appreciate your allowing me to speak. I probably came right after you had gone to executive session. My name is Marie Asad Faltus, and my address is 7648 Garner's Ferry Road, apartment 155. Columbia 29209. I wanted to speak to you briefly about two things, but I believe they are two important things. The first is that I see.
Put the mic a little closer to you so I can hear you real good.
Is this better?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Should I start over?
Yes, ma'am. Well, you don't have to say your address, but you can move forward.
Thank you. So the first matter that I needed to speak to you about is that I don't see enough or really anything being done to prevent injury, God forbid, in a future flood or storm. For example, I see a lot of trees down, and I was very concerned when we were expecting storms 2 weeks ago, and in fact a tornado or a quasi-tornado touched down in Lexington. But then I see a lot of logs and trees that are already uprooted and leaning, and I called Richland County, and they said, no, we don't have forestry division, or this is not in our jurisdiction. And I called the Department of Transportation, and they said, no, we only take care of streets and highways. Well, the tornado isn't going to make that distinction. If there is trees that are half uprooted, keep going. Thank you. So I was told there isn't even forestry or any authority in Richland County that would take care of that, because these things in a tornado or a storm can be projectiles. And the other thing is, after the flood, I hear a lot of people saying we rebuild as if the flood never happened. That's the very worst slogan to have, to say as if the flood never happened means we don't learn from history. So, for instance, the apartments in which I live, a part of it is already in the flood zone, and as far as I understand it, they got permits to build exactly as before. Well, this means that people are going to be at risk again. Nothing is being done to make it different. The other point I wanted to make is that really it has become very fashionable with Donald Trump running to dump on immigrants, even lawful immigrants. And in Richland County, I am sorry to say that I have experienced totally unjustified discrimination. I believe the Richland County courthouses are the property of Richland County, not the whims of anybody, and they should be open to everybody. Yet I, out of all people, by the actions of the current clerk of Richland County and by others, am allowed to go to the building only between 2 and 4 at the time when most people are at lunch, and I don't get service. If I go before, in fact, I get threatened. And it's not as if I had done anything wrong. If Councillor Rose were here, he would tell you that I had been falsely accused of a crime, and I defended myself without a lawyer, and it was a 5-day jury trial, and thank God I won. And I want to read to you from the Gospel of St. John chapter 18, verses 22 to 23. And when he had thus spoken, one of the officers which stood by struck Jesus with the palm of his hand, saying, Answerest thou the high priest so? Jesus answered him, If I have spoken evil, bear witness of the evil. But if well, why smitest thou me? And my question is, what have I done for me to be excluded from all the public buildings this way? If I had done anything wrong, then prove it. Since I have done nothing wrong, in fact, you all should turn to the people who falsely accused me and who wasted the taxpayers' money on false trials and false arrests and all of that. But I think really you should fire or discipline every employee of Richland County who denies me equal access to the public buildings. That includes the clerk of court and all the employees of the clerk of court and all employees of the Richland County Sheriff's Department. And this is something, of course, some people had to sit at the lunch counters to be served. I am calling this Jim Crow revisited on lawful immigrants.
Yes, ma'am. I would say that, being that we're not familiar exactly with your situation specifically, but on two fronts. One, as far as the flood goes, Warren, if you don't mind, get with her, finding out the specific issues that she has. And in addition to that, if you can just get some background on the other issue as well, concerning, because every citizen has equal access to or rights to public buildings. So we'll find out exactly what that issue is, and then we'll go from there.
I'd like you to pass a resolution to that effect.
Okay, we'll definitely look into that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, and thank you for your patience as well.
Oh, thank you for hearing.
Yes, ma'am. All right, and that concludes citizens' input.
Did I need to make a motion about the TPAC thing? Or was that something? In executive session, we talked about that?
Yeah.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, reference our one of our executive session. I'd like to move that we move this forward as discussing the executive session, in that we asked that group to provide us with, we encourage them to move forward with an assessment as soon as possible.
Okay, you heard the motion?
Second.
It's been properly second. Any discussion? Mr. Washington.
You said I can't say the group name? Well, the TPAC, I said.
Oh, I didn't know. I'm sorry.
Yeah, we
Can
missed
you
it.
clarify that? Where'd your mic go? Clarify the motion.
Can you clarify?
Oh, my mic's not on, I'm sorry. The motion is for us to ask our TPAC committee, per their current duties and responsibilities, to move forward as expediently to do an assessment of the current transportation spending program
Okay,
in conjunction with the staff.
that was the motion. It's been properly second. Any more discussion?
Mr. Chairman, point of clarification, TPAC would be the Transportation Advisory Committee.
That's correct.
That is correct. Thank you, Mr. Manning. Any more discussion? All in favor of that motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Any more action? That was it. Next, we will have our motion period. We have 3 motions, one by Mr. Jackson. That motion will go to our A&F committee. The second one by Mr. Jackson would go to A&F as well. No. Human Resource Director, That's administration. That would go to A&F. And our third one by Mr. Washington would go to A&F since that's a budget issue. All right? Chair, entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Motion, I'm sorry.
Yeah, the employee grievances that.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Move for approval, Mr. Chair.
As-
Reference employment agreements.
Okay, I got a motion for approval of employment grievance as discussed in executive session. Can I get a second? It's been properly seconded.
Do we
Any discussion?
usually do that? I thought
Yeah,
we just
do.
discussed them in
We just do
there.
them sometime before we go back there if we don't have any questions.
Oh, okay.
Any more discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. Chair entertain a motion for adjournment. Got a motion for adjournment?
Second,
Been
third.
properly second. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? We're adjourned.